Hey guys, welcome back to Tipharot. It's me Matt here, and today I'm talking once again about dream control, how to control a lucid dream. So I want to talk about what I believe to be the kind of magic key to dream control, and that is your expectations. I've talked about this before. Your beliefs make up what happens in your lucid dreams. But it is more than just that. It is what you expect to happen in any given situation. And we can use this to our advantage. So say for example that you have a particular dream control goal in mind and you've been trying to do it but it just doesn't seem to be working. Well, what you can do is you can set yourself up so that you expect the result to happen the way that you want it to. So just an example, let's say that you actually want to fly in a lucid dream and you can't seem to believe that you're going to fly. You're not R. Kelly today, you don't believe that you can fly, and so you're not actually going to have any success with it. So what can you do? Well, you can set yourself up in a situation where you're actually going to expect to be able to fly. So how would you expect to be able to fly? Well, for example, you could make a plane appear and get in that plane. Or you could make a jetpack appear and put that on your back. Give yourself some way to expect that flying is the only reasonable outcome, and at that point you're going to be able to fly. Now, if you've watched any of my videos about controlling dream characters and about spawning dream characters and so on, you know that I actually use this technique a lot with them as well. I use it in the form of conversation. So think about it like this, your brain makes up your dream based on what it's expecting to happen in reaction to any given series of events. So for example, if you walk through the front door of your house in a lucid dream, chances are it's going to look like your house inside because that is just what you expect to be the case because you've opened your door a million times before and you've always walked in and found your house there. So in conversation you can use this to your advantage. You can continue a conversation as if you'd already got to the point that you wanted to get to. So say that you actually want a dream character to take you somewhere. You can just say something like, okay, so when are we leaving? Or, okay, so we're going to go there, but how are we actually going to get there? Do you actually plan to drive me there or something? You can say something like that. And your brain just knows that normally if you were in a conversation and you said something like that, you wouldn't just be saying that randomly. You wouldn't be like in the middle of a fight with someone and you just blurt out, oh yeah, so how are you taking me to that place then? You say that in a conversation to someone when that is actually going to happen. So your brain expects that that is actually going to happen. And so the response you get from the dream character in that case is normally one that is what you want. So, you know, you've said that thing about how, are they going to drive you to that location that you want to go to? And they will respond something like, yeah, I'll just go get my car. And that is how it works. It is something that I discovered more or less by accident and I've been using it ever since. It makes dream control with regards to characters so incredibly easy. And in fact, the conversation part of it just comes so naturally to me that I tend to use it for a lot of other things as well. So sometimes if I want to spawn an item or change a location or something, I would just ask a dream character in this manner. I would be like, oh, so you were going to give me that item then? Thank you. And then I'll take the item from them because naturally I expect them to give me the item at that point, so they give me it. You can also use this to build up to techniques that don't seem to be working for you. What do I mean by building up to a technique? Well, say that you want to be able to just spawn a great big elephant or a tank or a plane or a giant tree or a pot of gold or whatever it is that you want to spawn, and you want to just be able to make it appear in front of you, just as simple as that. Well, you want to start with something more easily believable and do it so many times that you just expect it to work because it's worked every time for you before. Because the moment you expect it to work every time, that's the moment when you've actually mastered that dream control technique because it is going to work almost every single time for you. So for example, you can actually try and make something small like a fly appear in the air in front of you. A fly is small enough that you could believe that, hey, maybe you just hadn't noticed it and you didn't even make it appear and it was just there already. So you can kind of believe that it would appear. There's no kind of suspension of disbelief really necessary for that to actually happen. So you can try it out with that. Try making a fly appear, or try making some tiny object appear, you know, just a little out of sight. And keep doing that every single lucid dream that you have for several weeks until you're so familiar with the process that you can start to do it with bigger objects. You can start to say make a golf ball appear in front of you, or a tennis ball, or something reasonably small, but that is a little bit bigger than what you were making appear before. And then as you get used to that, you can start doing bigger and bigger things. And you get used to doing it and you get that expectation built up over time that it's actually going to work. And at that point, you can start doing whatever you like with it. Now, the reverse is true. If you start expecting methods not to work, then that can actually happen. And I honestly believe that this is the reason why certain things don't work so well for me anymore. For example, a little bit of a story here. When I started lucid dreaming, the biggest problem that I faced was short lucid dreams. I had an awful lot of short lucid dreams. And so I had to look at ways of stabilizing those dreams to keep them lasting longer. And the first thing that I learned was to rub my hands together to stabilize the dream. And when I tried this, it worked really well, and I was able to stabilize the dream and start having longer lucid dreams. And I was so happy about this that I started doing it every single dream, even when the dream was stable. I just started rubbing my hands together. But I found that sometimes it didn't work, and so I started to wonder if maybe this just wasn't that great a technique. And over time I started to notice that it worked less and less until it pretty much ceased to work at all. Now it does work a little bit for me, but it doesn't work very well. And I'm better off doing other things like, touching objects in a dream, or saying the word stability in my mind, or sitting down and kind of meditating and just taking in the scenery around me and being in the moment. All of those things can help me stabilize a dream, but rubbing my hands together is very, very ineffective, even though it was a very effective technique for me originally. And that is because I built up the expectation over time that it wasn't going to work. So be wary of some of the things that haven't been working for you or that have stopped working for you, and realize that it may just be your expectations and you may need to give it a fresh look and try approach it in a different manner, or simply realize that that is the reason that it hasn't been working and that the technique isn't any less effective for you. It's just that you've convinced yourself that it's not going to work. So if you can convince yourself that it might actually work and that it is possible to get that technique working for you again, then you may be able to reclaim that technique. That is actually something that I plan to try now with the hand rubbing thing. I plan to basically convince myself that it is going to work because, I know that the technique works. I know that I've just convinced myself out of it working. So that in itself is enough to convince me that, it could work again. And so I'm going to experiment with it, try it out, and hopefully that is going to work for me, so you can try it out yourself as well. Basically, play around with your expectations in a lucid dream, and you're going to find that that is the key to dream control. I hope you found this helpful, and if you have, remember to subscribe for more. And also, if you found this helpful and you enjoy the videos and the content on this channel, then be sure to support the channel on Patreon. There'll be a link on screen. Thank you guys for watching. Take care.